Good evening and welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. I'm Tony Rathman.
Cherie.
Chris Allgood.
Audra Keeler.
Lourdes Gonzalez.
Ron Iacovetti.
And tonight we have an amazing guest joining us. Tonight we have Susan Noelle Slaughter. And Susan has quite the track record of being involved in the paranormal. Susan was featured on Ghost Hunters Academy, Ghost Hunters International, Paranormal Caught on Camera, and is a member of the Dark Zone. So welcome, Susan.
Oh, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. I don't have a cool background like you guys. Gosh, like I'm looking at everybody's backdrops and I'm just like, I'm totally slipping. Is this like a format? Are you green screening it? What's going on?
We got two green screens, ours, and of course, I'm going to say this in quotation marks, I'm using the Dark Zone's imagery from the Dark Zone Queen Mary Live. But Ron and Lourdes, I believe, are also
You're on the Queen Mary right now, I could tell.
Yeah, we just live in an old English castle.
Yeah. In North Carolina.
Yeah, there's a few of those there.
Quite a few, actually.
Old English castle.
Yeah. So, Susan, I know that you have been involved in so many projects, and like I said, half of the shows that I mentioned that you were featured on. But just to give our audience a little history of yourself, I know Cherie and I know it, and I'm sure probably some of the other Entity Voices members do as well. But for our audience, how did you get involved in the paranormal? When did it start for you? How did it start? And what led you down this path?
I think like most people that get involved in the paranormal, it stems from some form of personal experience. And I think from when I was a younger girl, as a child, I was seeing things like light anomalies and shadow people in my room growing up. And I just didn't understand what that was. And I never got a real answer from anybody as to what those things that I was seeing was. I mean, my mom, she would always tell me like they're guardian angels, you know, or things like that. And in a term that wouldn't scare me at night. So I wouldn't like sleep with her every single night of the week, you know, but I was curious about the afterlife after that and what these energies were. And I didn't want to fear them anymore. I felt like the more knowledge you had about things, the less you would fear these things. So I came across later on in life, in my late teens, I saw there was this, I guess it was like a Jeep Grand Cherokee that was wrapped on the side with like all of this like website, like, and photos of like this whole team saying League of Paranormal Investigators, you know, come visit us at this website. I also watched the Ghost Hunter shows growing up too. So I was really intrigued and I was like, wow, we have paranormal investigators in Miami because that's where I'm from. And so I called them up and I was like, hey guys, I'm very interested in the paranormal. I know you don't know me, but if you need me in any capacity to help, even to do like, you know, rookie work, like I'm here. And so they had me come in and review evidence before they had me go on to location. And it took about 2 evidence reviews with the team before I went to on my first investigation, which was at a location off Old Cutler Road in Miami called Deering Estate, which is still one of my favorite locations to this day because it was also one of the most active. You know, it wasn't actively investigated. We were the only team that had ever been there at the time. And, you know, when you come to a location that's kind of fresh to investigations, you know, it hasn't been beaten to death with like people's, you know, gear and EVP questions, you know. So
Right.
it was like a really interesting and interactive investigation for me. And I think I became like incredibly addicted to it. And that's what started my path. And then I saw that Ghost Hunters was kind of like at the bottom of this screen right here, like scrolling, like looking to cast new paranormal investigators. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Like, I think I'm going to submit, you know, a video. And that's how I got picked up for the series. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's cool.
That is so cool. Now, if I recall correctly, you did you did a couple of episodes, or maybe longer, I don't remember, of Ghost Hunters. But then you had a choice, right, of either to stay with Ghost Hunters or move over to Ghost Hunters International, correct?
So it actually started on Ghost Hunters Academy, and it was a competition reality series, you know. So they brought a bunch of other paranormal enthusiasts and investigators together, and kind of had us like prove that we were, you know, TAPS material, or, you know, at least paranormal material for television. And we had a lot of really great people on the series. They had like 6,000 people applied, and they picked like 7 or 9 of us total. And we all competed together, but at the same time, they were like, you have to compete, but be a team, you know? So it wasn't like you couldn't pull like shady shenanigans on your teammates because it'd get you kicked off, you know? But I won alongside Carl Pfeiffer on the first season. And then, I had a choice to go to the home team with TAPS or to go abroad with the international team. I definitely was like, I want to travel abroad. So I wanted to investigate things that were like outside of our United States of America or a nation, you know.
Right.
And I got to investigate places that were much older than the history of the U.S. I mean, as a colonized nation speaking, you know. But yeah, that was, I mean, I made the best choice, I think. And I did do some Ghost Hunters series too. I did like the 100th episode, and I think we did like a Halloween special. So I was on there twice. So technically I was on Ghost Hunters for 2 episodes, but not really doing team investigations. You know, it was kind of like a live series type deals.
What an amazing opportunity, though, to be able to investigate international locations to the amount that you got the opportunity to do. Got to tell you, a little jealous about that, but
Very.
I mean, it was the best job I ever had. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still grasping at those straws. I'm like, I want a paranormal reality series that takes me abroad. We don't see that on network now.
Right.
Everything is in the U.S. We keep going to the same locations, different show, same location. You know what I mean? Everyone's going and seeing the same haunted houses, you know. But you know, the best thing about going internationally is also like learning a lot about different cultures, and I find it very interesting to see their views on the paranormal, because it's vastly different, you know, depending on where you are in the world. And it's just, you know, interesting to like kind of touch on history that a lot of people don't really get to experience, you know, like I mean, I've investigated like Mayan and Incan temples, you know, like that's like phenomenal. And I'm definitely trying to go back. And although I don't get to do that on like in a funded way, you know, with like television and production companies, I definitely fund my own endeavors. So I still try to go and travel at least. Well, that's a sore subject right now in 2020. But I actually had plans to go to Aokigahara Forest for my birthday and do suicide forest investigation. And then COVID hit, and it was just like flight canceled, life canceled, fun, everything canceled.
Same thing. I mean, COVID has just shut everything down. I mean, from travel to production companies doing stuff. I mean, shows are dropping just because they haven't been able to produce to get them back on the air. And of course, you've got the financial aspects attached to that and how that hurts the companies. So COVID has absolutely just put up brick walls around everything. And I mean, I think we've all can say that we've had enough of it and want it to go away, but knock on wood, hopefully that will happen soon, very soon.
Yeah, I'm lucky with Paranormal Caught on Camera because, I mean, it's not an in-field, you know, paranormal series. You know, I'm just like a talking head on a green screen, but I actually that's like, I'm so very lucky to still have that, you know, we're still pumping out episodes, and they sent us, you know, our own light kits and cameras and green screens to shoot from home. And not a lot of other paranormal investigators who I know and love that have their own series on like A&E or, you know, Travel Channel as well, you know, are hitting like chopping blocks because they can't travel, you know what I mean? And so if they can't make these shows, and they're literally getting shelved now, and it's actually really sad to see. But I think that that's going to create a new era in paranormal television when all of this blows over. There's going to be room for new investigators to come in, new ideas for series and shows. And so I know a lot of people who have thrown their names in the hats for a lot of networks. If you guys haven't done it yet, you're slipping up. You better.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, doors will open after this comes to a close and this COVID gets under control. But let's talk about some of the exciting things that the Dark Zone is doing during this time, because to me that was, a door opening in the direction of something new, something that the audience could be interactive with. You want to say a little bit about what the Dark Zone's been doing with their lives, and we can.
Oh God. I mean, I think like anybody that's in the dealing with COVID, you have to kind of evolve with the times. You got to kind of maneuver your way around things to keep things, fresh and interesting, and to keep life going, And I mean, my life it revolves around investigating in the paranormal. And I like I said, I'm lucky I get to shoot in front of a green screen for Paranormal Caught on Camera, but that's a far cry from what I really want to do. You know what I mean? So being like on an investigation and, kind of scratching noggins with other investigators and other, people in the field is like what I love to do. And the Dark Zone started during this era when there was no paranormal content on television. And here we had, Kristen Luman, the founders, for instance, was myself, Kristen Luman, Jay Verberg, Patrick Doyle, Carl Pfeiffer, and Dave Schrader. And, we all at the time didn't have a series. And we were kind of getting over the whole cliche way of like series we're running these days. And we decided to just start our own network. We're like, that's it. We're running things our way now, And so not Jay Verberg, but Jay Blumke, he produced all the Ghost Hunters series, and I had worked with him since the Academy days. So he kind of saw me as like a baby Susan in the field, and and how I've grown up. And so we kind of brought in all his favorite investigators, and he's like, let's start a network. So we called it the Dark Zone. And it started online. And the idea is, to reach an audience outside of the United States. We wanted an international audience. We didn't want network ratings or producers that didn't like certain tactics or things. We just didn't want people telling us how to work.
Right.
Because a lot of the times, I would come up with this great idea, and I mean, I don't know if it was great. I think it's great. But, they're like, oh, Susan, that's a wonderful idea, but no. Or, hey, Susan, you're being a little bit on the forefront, or, a lot of the times they're like, oh, you're a sidekick, And so I had to be like the sidekick on a team, and not really like, my personality was never shining through. It'd always get cut out and thrown on like the edit bay floor, and people who really knew me knew like, how I investigate and, how I treat people and how I treat spirits, and they want to work with people like that. And I want to work with people like that. So we kind of cherry picked our investigators, to be like, these are the people I want to work with. And when we work with the Dark Zone, we bring in other people from other teams, like, Tony and Cherie, like we got we want to incorporate other methodologies. We want to highlight other teams and investigators, and, other shows don't do that. It's like me, my team. I'm the lead investigator. Right. Exactly how a team really works, to be honest. Everybody on the team is a lead in their own capacity. You just have to have the right members. And so that's what we tried to build. And in the Dark Zone, we work with people all over from every walks of life. We have even psychics on our show. Or, we have skeptics on our show. We have historians on our show that's never worked in paranormal. We just like to talk about the true history of things.
Right.
So.
That makes it interesting for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus that full perspective from all sides helps round it out and gives everybody something to either get attached to or look forward to or wondering how they're going to handle. So couldn't agree more. Yes, not having a network control what you can say, can do, how you're going to, that's amazing. Plus the whole live technology where the audience can interact, they can talk with one another. I mean, I just think that's amazing what the Dark Zone is all done.
Yeah, that's crazy. I literally could be on an investigation and somebody could tell me, hey, I saw something in this other room. Someone on the other side of the world in like Australia or Spain or like South America would be like, a door just opened in room where camera 3 is, and I could be on the other side of a place. And because I have somebody else like kind of like, the control, for me,
Right.
they're like, I have like thousands of sets of eyes on an investigation. And that's something that like, man, I would have never thought, you're always, I mean, how many times you guys are investigators, how many times you just miss something and you're just like beating yourself up. You're just like, man, why do we wrap up, at 2 a.m., like 2:06, some shit goes down and you're like, all your cameras are off. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
It's like, there goes it. Like the second you close cameras and recorders, you're all like snapping your Pelican cases shut, like a giant apparition shows up and pushes you guys down the stairs and there's no one there to catch it.
They do that on purpose.
That's not how phenomena happens, but
They do that on purpose.
I know.
They want to show it in the camera. That's right.
Well, there's some truth to that, though. How many times has an apparition or a figure? Rare. I mean, we've literally covered almost every inch of a location with cameras, and they show up in the one and only spot that no cameras catching, but we got it on the FLIR. Remember that at the Red Garter? Yeah.
Right.
Just it's incredible, but there's definitely intelligence there, and they do show it. But
they're very smart.
Oh, no doubt about it. Before we go any further, just for our audience who may not be familiar with the Dark Zone, I just want to run their most recent trailer, and it kind of explains what they've done in the last 8 months and where they're going in the future. So let me play that for our audience now, and here it comes.
Maybe.
It's in the future.
Okay, hold on. Why?
This is the time that the ghost shows
up.
First, the Dark Zone gave you unprecedented access to the real Conjuring House. With The House Live, the Dark Zone created a worldwide interactive experience never before attempted. This 24/7 week-long live stream event was viewed by fans in the U.S. and over a dozen other countries. The Dark Zone has taken the passive medium of television and infused it with interactivity, creating a totally immersive audience experience. Viewers had 24/7 live streaming access to the isolated camera feeds in the house and become remote ghost hunters, reporting paranormal sightings as they occur. Then, they spent 4 days live inside the Lizzie Borden murder house. Now, for this Halloween, the Dark Zone will give you live streaming 24-hour around-the-clock virtual access to one of the most haunted locations on Earth, the Queen Mary. This Halloween, the Dark Zone brings you a 4-day live streaming paranormal event as Aidan Sinclair, Susan Slaughter, and all of your favorite paranormal researchers investigate the storied hotspots and literally get down to the bottom of the ship, right down into the deepest, darkest depths. And at the Queen Mary, things are going to get festive. On Halloween night, we'll be hosting a virtual party with celebrity guests, music performances, and a viewer costume contest. last day, don't miss our Dia de los Muertos celebration. Come for the ghosts and stay for the party. It will be a Halloween haunt and music fest to remember on the Queen Mary Live.
Just some amazing stuff there. I mean, that's an event that's never been put together before, and
I know, it's nuts. I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm just like, I can't believe we're pulling this off. Like, this is crazy.
It's gonna be great.
When they pan on that ship, and I'm just like, that ship is massive. Like, when we went to location scout it, it was, first of all, the Queen Mary right now on Halloween, and any other year, if there was no pandemic happening, has a huge haunt that goes on called Dark Harbor. And I love Dark Harbor. And it's always like, it's packed with people. And then any other given moment, they're always having like festivals and things like that there. I've stayed on the Queen Mary before. I remember it was like accidentally during a Scottish festival, and it was just like men in kilts everywhere, like hundreds upon hundreds of men in kilts. It was always constantly buzzing. Like, that ship has got so much vibrancy and life on it. And when I went there, it had been closed since March, and there's literally no one on the ship except for like 3 or 4 security guards that are just watching the entrances, to keep creeps from getting on the boat. No one's there. But they let this creep on, and we were able to go on that ship in a way I've never been able to see before. It was completely abandoned, and we get to have that entire ship to ourselves for the entire weekend. I'm just so stoked about that. It's like a dream location to have, like, and I mean, even if the whole thing to ourselves, so I'm really stoked about that. And we get to share that, like, super chill, energy, where there's nobody there. There's no tourists, there's nothing. And so we get to put up our static cams wherever we want. So we're going to have like a pretty loaded system, and all of that footage is going to be rolling 24/7 live. So you guys, I mean, anyone who buys into the event from the Dark Zone on the website, thedarkzone.tv, will be able to look at these cameras live and see what's happening in the very moment. And of course, we have like a loaded roster of, paranormal know-who's and celebrities that are going to be investigating. Normally, if you at the Conjuring House and the Lizzie Borden House, it was kind of it's a very serious event, and because this was like a Halloween type thing, we wanted it to be more of a party. Right. The first thing that I thought, and became kind of our tagline, was that I got a letter or an email from our Eric Garcetti in California, and he's pretty much saying like Halloween is canceled, no trick or treating, no parties, no people going, you'll get arrested and we have to keep safe. And I was like, who the hell's canceled Halloween? We canceled Halloween? Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no. I was like, we got to throw a party now. You know what I mean? So we decided to have bands on. And it's funny because a lot of these bands, it started off with for instance, the band Silver Sun Pickups. I know them personally, and they're going to be our headliners on the event. And I met them initially because they reached out to me when I moved to California because they were into the paranormal and they wanted to go on investigations. And actually members of the band has investigated with me and APRA, who's also going to be on the ship. So members from Silver Sun and APRA know each other through a weird paranormal relationship, and with me as well. So a lot of these people, even though you know them as actors or rock stars, are actually seasoned investigators as well. We've done actual investigations together before. I've investigated with Chad Lindbergh, and I've investigated with also YouTube stars like Colin from Paranormal Files. And I mean, I'm just excited to actually be celebrating Halloween with my friends on like one of the most amazing ships. So, I mean, I'm guilty of being really selfishly excited for this.
Oh, I would be.
I'm gonna have fun, you know what I mean?
You had the whole ship. You know,
I know.
amazing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you get enough evidence as it is when all those people are. I'm wondering how it would be in silence of just you guys.
We're in New
That's
Jersey.
really interesting.
We're in New Jersey now, but I used to live in Los Angeles, so I've probably done more hours on the Queen Mary collectively than everywhere else I've been. One thing you mentioned that is really cool, if you get the chance, those security guards often have some of the best paranormal encounters on that ship, and a lot of times they won't come out with them unless they know that's kind of cool to if you're an investigator, obviously they'll tell you. But that place is phenomenal. We've gone back a couple times. Two of my best visual captures were on that ship, and man, I can't wait to go back. So I think this event and the way it's being run is really, really cool, and it connects a lot of us to that place who want to be there again soon.
Oh, yeah.
I really miss. I love that ship. It's
Right.
There's so much energy contained in that ship. It is insane.
It is.
We did that investigation there. I was there when I was younger. I can't imagine what kind of energy that ship is going to produce when those bands shut down.
Yeah.
After that musical energy and those vibrations from that music playing vibrates through the metal of that ship. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The Queen's Parlor is one of the most haunted spots, you know, and that's where they have all of their musical acts. And so, unfortunately, we won't be having. There's electrical issues on the Queen Mary that we couldn't run the risk of throwing like full bands on, but we will have like acoustic sets that will be performing there. We definitely wanted to kind of do trigger events like that on the ship, you know, and kind of like, you know, give it the space to manifest without having crowds of people. And it's been abandoned since March. So it's been like down for months. I'm so excited about this. And I mean, anybody who's into the paranormal would be really excited about this because, and let me just say this too, because I am all about camaraderie in the paranormal field. And I know there's a lot of my colleagues and friends that are doing their own network Halloween specials and events.
Yep.
You know, and I definitely want viewers to support that. I mean, I know like, you know, Ghost Adventures is going to the Tiger King, you know, location to investigate. The Ghost Brothers and Jack Osborne are doing a Halloween special, but our event on the Queen Mary is 4 days long, you know? So I'm like saying, guys, like if you really want to celebrate Halloween the right way, just like get a ticket to the Dark Zone, watch some bands, be part of an investigation yourself, you know, on the Queen Mary along with me. You know, I'm going to be sitting in the control room conversing with everybody that's online viewing. And they're going to be sending me to places that they think are the hot spots. But I'm saying, hey, go ahead and watch, you know, all these other series on travel channels and stuff. I mean, if it were me, I would be DVRing all of these programs and watching the Dark Zone too. And I also want to stress it's not only a Halloween event, we are also doing a big Dia de los Muertos party, you know, so on November 1st, we're going to be building a beautiful altar with one of the best. I think I want to say he's Oaxacan. I might be just making that up, but we have this gorgeous like altar builder, and we have like one of these most badass bands called Metalachi. They're a mariachi band, and we really want to celebrate the culture because if you know anything about California, like you know, Long Beach and LA and San Diego is huge Mexican culture, and we want to celebrate that as well. And we want to kind of be the most diverse in paranormal programming out there, you know, and it's 4 days long. It's a huge festival. Right. I mean, when was the last time you guys went to a festival? You know, like this is it. Like how do you turn a paranormal investigation into a music festival? I mean, we're hoping we're going to do this correctly, but it's going to be a lot.
You're right, but I mean, what an opportunity that is, though. Like you said, about having the access to the ship without the hundreds, thousands of people that are normally there the last time Sheree and I were there, which I think was 3 years ago, we couldn't even record, and EVPs were out of the question. Dark Harbor was going on. They had Haunted House a couple floors down. I mean, so it was,
they have amusement.
But to have utter silence throughout the entire ship, and because, like you said, it's been shut down since March, you know, the spirits that are residing on there, and I can't remember what Peter James said. He thought there was 600 spirits on the boat. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of spirits. Now imagine they haven't seen anybody since March. So now we're going to bring in all these investigators. Just can't even fathom what kind of interaction then will take place, because it's going to be incredible.
I think.
Are you guys going to be on the ship with us?
We are.
Yeah,
we are.
I mean, I knew I was like, you guys got to bring the Rathmans on. You know, I made that request. I was like, I when I talked to you guys, and you know, on our interview for the Lizzie Borden thing, and you're giving me kind of like a show of the equipment that you have. I was like, that's going to be amazing on the Queen Mary. I could have talked about the Queen Mary then, really, but I was like, we're calling the Rathmans in. They're close enough, man. They're in Arizona. We'll
Thank you for that, Susan. We really appreciate that. And so that you know, we are in the process and have been building for the last 3-4 weeks.
Yes.
Version 2.0 of the Evox, and it is going to be.
It's going to be smaller,
much smaller, much more portable, and we did a ton of upgrades to it. So that'll be coming. Along with,
but we're going to bring
with about 22 other cases of equipment.
Yeah, portability.
Yeah, you definitely never pack light as an investigator. You're just like case after case after case.
And then one little, you know, personal item.
Yeah, your flashlight and your wallet. You leave your cell phone in the car.
Even when we go investigate haunted hotels, we'll be staying like maybe 2 nights. And they see us bring in bag after bag. It looks like we're moving in for like years. And it's like, oh, this is clothes and personal items, and all this is paranormal.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
True.
I know. I'm excited for this event. I really am. I'm like, I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in person for the first time as well, investigating with you guys and investigating with new people that I haven't before. I'm going to be meeting a lot of people. I'm a social person, so I love working with people. But yeah, we wanted to do something that was safe. So, I mean, you guys heard, like, everyone that's going on board is going to be tested every single day they're on board. So we're definitely abiding by the COVID guidelines and everything, because we want to set a good example, especially for viewers. And if people have to stay home, you know, to kind of keep everyone else safe, we wanted to give them something to do meanwhile. And I think this is the best option for Halloween, personally.
It's an amazing option, especially under the circumstances. And, you know, with the way that the Dark Zone covers with the live cameras and all sorts of different locations, the fact that you can switch between watching what's happening on the live show to go look at what's going on in a particular room, it makes it very interactive. And I think, you know, the Conjuring house that was done, and then the Lizzie Borden, and now transferring this over to the Queen Mary, I mean, I think audience would really be regretful if they didn't get an opportunity to see this, because it's going to be something you're not going to want to miss, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. And we have full access to the whole ship, so it's pretty awesome. You know,
like, you've got a larger footprint than probably the Lizzie Borden house and the Conjuring house combined.
Right.
One of the interesting things would be if you can get stuff to corroborate. The gentleman Matthew Schultz, who runs the tours there routinely before the world shut down, he's gotten evidence from different people on the ship of a woman kind of peeking into a shot. One of them was coming out of the locker room area by the pool. The other one was in boiler room number 3, which is below that. It was part of the heating source for the pool.
Right.
It's the same woman. 2 different guests produced the same thing. The one that got the one in the boiler room was looking at her phone when she took a picture, and then her face just like went blank, and he was like, what? She dropped her phone and ran out. So imagine for the viewers, this opportunity is amazing. Imagine for the viewers if somehow something identical could be viewed or captured in 2 places at the same time, or back to back sequentially, perhaps, or corroborating evidence because you've got so much access. That's just fantastic.
And
that's
that's
a large area.
Very possible in the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how that's going to play out as far as it being silent and just the security guards. And how you guys are all come, like, I wonder how they're going to react. I feel like you're going to get some great stuff.
Yeah, Dark Harbor's amazing, but I hated when they did it because they would always reroute the tour, right? We're going to go
right through
in the men's room for about a half an hour just till the people go by. I'm like,
no. So true.
I know. And we're going to have all of those static cams in all those places that you mentioned too. And so you're talking about a person that just happened to capture something at the right time. But when we have cameras on 24/7 for 4 days straight, I'm really excited. I mean, all of the things from every investigator that's been there have told me that it's all been visual, so it's awesome. Like, I know members of APRA captured like a full-bodied apparition of a little girl. I have seen pictures and photos from other people that have just gone there on tours capturing mists and like strange, like, it's not like not light anomalies. It's like apparitions. You're seeing like portions of bodies and people like mid manifesting, and
evidence also.
Hooded shadow figure, like a Grim Reaper looking, in the doorway to the boiler room. And I know when I took it, there was nobody there. We went a couple years back and we got an apparition of a woman looking down. You get the side profile of a child in the window looking through the observation bar. I waited for the one waitress, no patrons, it was closed, to walk by. Took the picture to get the sign, and I looked at it like 5 months later because I'm an idiot. And then there's this apparition looking down at this kid, and I was like, I couldn't explain it. We went back the next year. We get a table. We get the same table, same window, and we're both walking in together as a couple. And then one of us would walk out and be going like this. Then the other one would go back in, and we switch places. And the waitress was like, "Are you guys going to order anything? Because this is weird."
We were like 20 minutes just trying to figure out, okay, which window? Okay,
trying to debunk it.
Window, and the kind of thing up in the sky. And we were like, it looked like a table floating. So we were like, maybe the tables are I was like, no, the tables aren't high. And it was crazy. And then after a while, she was like, are you guys gonna order?
That's when you show your waitress the photo that you captured.
Yeah.
So you're like,
and she has stories. Yeah, they have stories too. The employees, the security guards. They all have stories.
That works there.
How many? So Susan, how many live views are the people that tune in and buy the tickets to watch the Queen Mary going to have?
Oh my gosh, we have like tens of thousands of viewers.
Wow.
It's like actually having a proper festival. Like, that's what I'm saying.
No, I mean camera views. So when we
how many vantage points?
What do we have last time? I think we had like 6 ISO cams up. Here we're gonna have more. So when we went on the ship, we're trying to figure out, like, we have to do wireless. There's like no way that we're going to be able to run video cable like to a DVR system. So we hired a specific company to give us our own, I mean, I don't know what the hell they do, but they work wireless. They're walking around with meters on the ship. They're like, yeah, you got connectivity here. Yeah, you got connectivity here. So I guess essentially what you do is you rent out like, data from towers that cannot be used, so you don't get like any get caught in the crosshairs.
Right.
And so we literally rented a tower for this event just so we have like all the ISO feeds that we need, and that we could keep in contact. There are dark zones, no pun intended, or maybe, on the ship that literally don't get any feeds, and so when we're walking or investigating through those areas, we have to strictly rely on our cameramen for that, or girls. I don't know who we have. We don't have, unfortunately, our favorites this time around. We kept it all kind of to the West Coast. We're like, let's give the West Coast kids their moment, because we spent the last, 2 events over on the East Coast. So we try to keep it all like West Coast people, and also just traveling. Imagine having to bring people in. When I flew into Massachusetts, I had to get a test within like 48 hours before going there, or I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. And I had the government literally texting me and calling me every day, reminding me that they were watching me. Like, I kid you not.
Wow.
Massachusetts was like legit on my case about it. I was like, no, don't worry. Like, I provided a negative result for them. And B, I was technically quarantined at the Lizzie Borden house. It's like, there you go.
And C, we didn't get your credit card, butthead. Quit watching me. Okay, like everybody else.
There you go. Oh my God. They probably were watching me on the Dark Zone. Then they know I wasn't lying at least.
Yeah, they knew you were quarantined to the house for a minimum of 4 days plus. With one move to Maplecroft, but I think they accepted that.
Yeah, that's true. Maplecroft was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I want to go back again.
That was an amazing location, and the activity in there, I think, surpassed what was happening in the Lizzie Borden. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Susan, I want to say thank you so much for coming on and for sharing with us about what is coming up, what the Dark Zone has been doing, what the big plans for the Queen Mary are. So I really appreciate that. And before anything else, I just want to take a quick look at the comments. I know Chris has been keeping an eye on them, but
mine froze, Tony.
Yours froze?
No,
yeah, mine froze.
Okay, so no one's been viewing the comments. So audience, I apologize deeply, but anyone in the audience that has any question they want to ask about the Dark Zone or about the Queen Mary event or anything at all, go ahead and type those in now, and we'll be able to ask those questions. But the Queen Mary event is actually happening from October 29th through November 1st, and tickets are available on the darkzone.tv. And somebody just wrote a question. Hold on.
There's a few in here.
Yeah, it says, give the West Coast kids a chance.
Yeah.
They want to know what the costume prize winner gets.
Oh, yes.
I don't even know, so I can't help you in there. Sorry. I'm sure it's going to be something cool. I'll tell you what we gave away last time. We had a custom-made Ouija board that was built specifically for the event, like carved out by a totally badass artist who made a Lizzie Borden solid wood Ouija board and planchette. That was so bad. I mean, and I think this event, we're trying to 10 up, 20 up ourselves in any other event. So I'm sure we're going to come up with something even more epic than a handmade Ouija board.
But that Ouija board was made, the wood that was used was from
a casket, from a coffin.
From a casket, right.
Oh,
right.
That's right. I forgot about that. You're 100%
it was constructed from an old casket, and the craftsmanship on it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. He enameled it, and everything was so smooth. That planchette, I feel like a car salesman right now. That planchette, moved like butter over those letters. I was just like, what? There's no drag on this at all. I love that.
Well, if you're gonna build something like that out of a casket, you better do it well.
All right.
Or something's coming to be knocking on your shoulder when you least expect it. So Jed's asking when a link will be posted so they can sign up for the Dark Zone for the Queen Mary.
Oh yeah, that's up to you guys. Can I post anything on here? I see people's comments.
Yes, you can.
You can post it into the comments, Susan, but depending on what Jed was asking, Jed, if you're talking about buying a ticket to be able to watch the Dark Zone, that's available now. That can be done at www.thedarkzone.tv. And the first screen that comes up after you punch that in says, buy your ticket. So that's available. But I thought I heard you say something about signing up. If that's for buying a ticket, then
yes. If we could post a link.
I am trying to get to this little link area you speak of, and I want to try to put a comment in, but I can't do it. It doesn't let me. So you're gonna have to do that for me. One of you.
Mine hasn't let me the entire time we've used StreamYard, but it is tonight, so I'm going to type it. Darkzone.tv.
Yes. / Susan.
And I will post in the comments.
I'm sorry. Let me retype that.
Yeah,
No, it's okay. That's my personal link, and so they'll give you like Susan's special information on that.
Yeah.
Susan.
Pam Tinkowitz says she wants to go. She's a good friend of mine. She's a shaman from out in Southern California, and she's amazing. So,
but
I would love to have her on ship, but unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, but
that request I think has been seen. I can't even tell you how many thousands of times, from the seance room to social media postings, and totally understandable. I mean, it's a dream location. It's got tons of paranormal activity, but you got to remember the COVID. I mean, the hotel that normally operates on the Queen Mary isn't even open. It's shut down because of COVID. Excuse me. And this is just the Dark Zone's way of being able to virtually bring you in to see what occurs there and what happens there. So yeah, it is disappointing that people can't actually go, but under the circumstances, it's the next best thing, and I think people will really enjoy it.
Oh, I can tell you from those of us that have been there, and it's everybody in this chat, everybody on the show tonight, those of you that are watching, if you've never been to the Queen Mary, log into the Dark Zone, watch the special. You will feel the energy through your screen. That place is such a phenomenal active place. There's no way you won't be able to see it.
I agree. And I think it's also the most informative way to learn about the Queen Mary, because we're going to have so many historians that are going to talk to you about the entire history of the ship. So Aidan Sinclair, who's hosting the tour through the ship and all the investigative segments, he is just a ship. We also have Craig Owens, who I've worked with before. He's an amazing historian. He's a no BS historian too. So he will fact or fake it for you. Like, he'll let you know what's just, rumor or fact. He also goes and does his extensive research into records, people aboard the ship, and then he corroborates the records with the rumors, and same thing with Aidan. So I think this is one of the most informed ways, if you love history, that you'll get all the information you'll ever want about the Queen Mary. And also you'll get to see a lot of really awesome investigative tactics from all the investigators there, because everyone's bringing their own bag of tricks. I mean, the Rathmans, for instance, they have their own, custom gear that they design. And I'm really excited to use it with you guys on investigation, to see how all of that gear plays out and pans out. We also have APRA bringing in a never before used camera system called
Ion camera.
Photon camera.
Ion.
Yes, ion.
Yeah, the ion. I was like the photon camera, but technically every camera is like a photon camera, if you break it down, because it's just particles of light that it captures. But yes, so it's an ion camera. I've never even seen it. I've never heard of it. I remember when Brandon Alvis was telling me about it, he's like, Susan, next time you're in town, we're going to do, we used to investigate the Glen Tavern Inn together. He used to live there. So we would always he lived there. He lived there for many years. And I used to go and be like, hey, hook me up with a room real quick. Yeah. It's super active.
You mentioned Chad Lindbergh before. I did the Glen Tavern Inn with Chad Lindbergh, with Debbie Constantino. At one of the last times. It was amazing. I do direct radio voice and ITC stuff for a lot of research now. My first foray into anything having to do with radio communication was sitting on the floor on the third floor of the Glen Tavern Inn when 30 people all introduce themselves, and then Debbie and then Chad goes, and I'm Chad, and it's running the SB7. And then 20 seconds the most later, it goes, I know Chad. And I was like, what is he using?
Wow.
I was hooked.
Chad has a lot of energy around him. I'm not going to lie. I've investigated him before, and he's got his own personal spirits that come with him on investigations, and they'll always end up chiming in. We investigated Chapman University before. We did the Queen Mary as well. So that's why it was like a pretty, I was like, of course, Chad has to be part of this event. You know, like the first time I ever investigated the Queen Mary was with him. So, and second to that was also, I did an investigation with Steve Gonzalez from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Nation now. So, I mean, I have been there and I've done those things, but they're more like tours. You know what I mean? When you go on these things, like we call them investigations, you bring your gear, but you're there with like slews of people, like 20 deep on a tour. Yeah. This is going to be a proper investigation. This is going to be like all in investigation with some of the best people in the field. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it'll be an opportunity that's never existed before. Right. No one's had, I mean, they would close off parts of the ships like for other investigators that would come, but never has the ship been abandoned. And that alone will create opportunity from a spiritual interaction that I don't think it's ever been seen before. And that, I'm going to be honest, that excites the hell out of me. I can't wait to see what we.
Yeah, I have a question.
I was like, was Shereen reining you in just now? She's like, what are you trying to do back there? She was like, don't say you're excited, Tony. Just
she's like, calm down.
Keep your cool kid face on, right?
I got to tell you, I'm over here about to cry because we just moved to North Carolina right before the Dark Zone goes to the Queen Mary.
I know.
Oh, no.
It's like I'm here.
Literally a month ago.
I am so happy for you guys. I mean, I am excited for you guys. I am so happy.
Super jealous.
And I love it. But I would catch amazing stuff. I'm so happy for you guys. I'm excited for you guys.
I would give up an all-paid vacation in a penthouse in Hawaii to be with the Dark Zone in the Queen Mary. I'm so happy for you, Tony and Susan. That is phenomenal.
It's such a great opportunity.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, for letting us be part of this, because it is an opportunity that is just phenomenal. And but the best part about it, though, is that the audience will get full interaction with this whole event, and I think we'll be able to show them something that's never been done before, at least not from the Queen Mary, let alone this is only the third one that the Dark Zone did, but the technology used and the fact that they're transmitting handheld cameraman signal back to the control center and using live view and all sorts of other technology. Now, as long as the big metal ship doesn't block it, I think you're going to get to see some really amazing things. And
it's good we're not relying on the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi there is slightly better than 2 cups in a string, so it's good.
That's why we need that like tower space. It was like, and it was just like we've done enough troubleshooting through our other live events. If anybody has followed them, you know we've are dealing with a new beast, and we're constantly like, you know. We just didn't want to have the technical difficulties that we did last time. So we had to hire a whole crew, especially for something as big as the Queen Mary, which is as long as the Empire State Building. So
correct. Right.
Yeah. I know. Imagine that, like having the Empire State Building completely empty to yourself. We just have that in like a horizontal way on the ocean.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a third larger than the Titanic too, for people who don't know. That's It's 1/3 larger than the Titanic. It looks similar. I think is one.
It looks so similar.
Titanic.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, it is bigger than what the Titanic was. But one question I have to ask, Susan, I actually heard this when I was listening to the interview you did with Sam last night, and you were talking about a couple weeks ago. You were actually on the ship. And normally, like when you see photos of the hallways, you know, all the doors are shut because there's people staying in them. But you said every door was open.
Yeah, all the doors are just open, rows and rows and rows of rooms. Yeah.
Wow.
And explain what you said it felt like with it being that empty, because you gave, I don't want to say it, but you gave a statement to Sam that I was like, wow, that's really brilliant. But you were explaining about how normally when you're there, you sense the energy of all the other people that are on the ship. But this time you sense something else. And do you remember what?
Yeah, so I was just comparing, like I was telling you, it's like every time I've gone there, it's always been like a raging party that's going on the ship. There's tons and tons and tons of people there. And I'm, when I was walking on this ship completely empty, and first of all, it was really spooky to me just walking down these long corridors, but every single door was open. And every time I would pass a room, I felt like if I looked into it, I was going to see someone. And what really was unusual for me, it was like, I know I'm completely, like there's only 5 people on the ship with me right now. I know this for a fact. It's completely empty. And yet I'm walking down this corridor with all these doors open, and I still feel like there's tons of people around me. Like the energy of just like all these, spirits, and it was just like, no matter that there's no one on the ship right now, there's so much energy within it, like I felt like I was still in this lively environment with tons of people around me, except I couldn't see them, and every time I'm walking by a room, I'm just kind of looking in, I'm like, what? Like, I feel like I'm about to see somebody, in period clothing, ready to embark on their adventure, and I don't know if that's what you were talking about, Tony, but
that's exactly what I was talking about.
I mean, that was something that I was like, okay, like I'm ready to set up some gear in here and see like what transpires.
Yeah. And, it's exciting too, because there will be so many, what's the right word? Different personalities of investigators. Brandon Elvis, Rick McCollum, Kane Hodder will be there as well. But, they've got different uses of equipment. Brandon's ion camera. Just the amount of scenarios that can be covered, and like you said, the mixtures of different paranormal investigators, I think will just be absolutely fascinating, and what can be captured, and for the audience to go, oh, wow, that was incredible, is going to be an event, I think, like any other that's ever happened. So
I know. This is new territory. This has not been done before, ever. This is like having to try out a new beast and be like the trailblazer in the paranormal. When it comes to like producing something for an audience, this is, and a lot of our audience are investigators themselves. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the people that are watching are looking at our feeds are people that I can trust to say, yeah, you guys have investigated places, or they've gone to places I've never been to before, spend the night. They go, right now, they're not able to travel. And, we have to jump through a lot of hoops and pay a lot of fees and things and stuff to go to places. And we'll pay the price tag for you guys,
Right. Well, exactly.
Just throw us $20, watch the bands in between the investigations, and let us know what the hell you see on our DVR systems, because we need your eyeballs.
You're absolutely right there. And like you said, things don't get overlooked then. When you've got thousands of eyes on the different cameras at different times, you can especially if they're investigators and they have investigation experience, they're going to be able to pick it out as quickly as any other buddy who's investigating.
So sharp. I'm not gonna lie. Like the second something happens, they're on it, and that's helpful for me, because then I don't miss a beat. When I feel like I have a team of thousands of people with me, they become members of my team, and they're my correspondents. They're there in my control room, and if I'm on the other side of the ship and they're seeing some sort of phenomena, then we're able to, pinpoint it on our DVR system. We're able to go back and show everybody what they caught. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of everything that we capture is from our audience. It's like, I go in with equipment and, I'm there physically, but everything that has been brought to the table, at least when it came to the Lizzie Borden event, everything was brought in by viewers, everything, and there's we're not faking shit. You could see where I'm at. You see where the whole crew is at. Everyone. So there's no pulling any strange things. Like everything that we do here is legit, you know, and you could see for yourself, you know, we're not pulling strings or, you know, smoke and mirrors at all. So, right. And that's great.
Two important things to note. The people who would be accusing anything of being faking, they wouldn't believe, I always say they wouldn't believe in Bigfoot if he handed them their car keys. So those people are going to think what they think.
Yeah.
True. Second of all, maybe a cool thing to do too, if you can get it on, if they can do it on a website somehow, if people can be encouraged not only to look for and mention any evidence they see, but with the ability on mobile devices like tablets and phones, you can do screen capture. So if somebody sees something, they could even grab the thing and then submit the evidence directly into the show from their device. So you don't have to be rewinding necessarily too, but it just makes it more in the moment interactive for them to say, hey, I just saw some shadow thing walk by, and then they can capture it on their phone.
Well, we actually have in place now, I think we updated our DVR center for this event where you're going to be able to, as a viewer, to kind of go back in time with the DVR system to catch things.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
that is great.
The more they're involved interactively investigating from afar, the better it is, because it's already an unbelievable price tag and deal for what they get.
Well, and the best part about the Queen Mary is it's the paranormal evidence and the experiences that you have there are consistent. The first experience I had on the Queen Mary, I was 15 years old. 30 years later, we did an investigation on the Queen Mary. I had the same experience in the same location in the pool area.
Interesting.
So the Queen Mary is consistent over the year. The history behind the Queen Mary is phenomenal. So tune into the Dark Zone, but most of all, when COVID is over, for those of you that watch it on the Dark Zone, book a room. It's not a place to stay.
Yeah, it's not.
Keep that history alive once COVID opens back up.
They're going to want to, too, after watching. They're going to want to stay there.
Depending on who you are, it's either they're like super excited by ghosts or be like, there's no way in hell I'm staying on the Queen Mary.
Right.
You know what I mean? Depends on where you sit, you know? But I haven't had a paranormal experience on the Queen Mary, you know? And like I said, it's always, I'm surrounded by people all the time. I never really feel like I can like tune into the environment. So I'm very stoked to have this whole ship to myself. And
that is phenomenal.
I mean, when you see stuff and you hear stuff, you're going to be excited to do it all, you know, because I'm not, you know, I don't see stuff or anything, but the Queen Mary was the first place I heard my first disembodied voice. It was the first place. And maybe that's why I love it so much, but it was the first. I was like, wait a minute. I just heard something with my own ear. And we went and recorded and it was there. So I'm like, I love the Queen Mary. I love
nothing echoes on that ship. Nothing echoes on that ship.
Right.
The quarters are so tight. Like when you're talking even to a person next to you, it sounds like you're talking into a wall. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there is no reverberation of sound or anything like that. One of the first things that I noticed is that my voice did not carry out at all. Like people could be, I don't know what it is. It's maybe, I'm trying to figure, is it the steel walls? It's something about the way the short, you know, like roofs in the hallways, the narrowness just doesn't allow for sound to travel very much. And so to hear a disembodied voice there, I'd imagine how jarring that is because, you know, it's just kind of like muffled in there to begin with. Like even in the engine room that's covered in steel and all that stuff, you think you can like echo out, but it's nothing. It's like, it's like thick air in front of you and there's no echo or reverberation at all. Unless you bang on like something metal, then I'll just
right.
But when it comes vocally,
you're creating a mechanical wave with an audible sound by banging on something. But with vocally, there's so much area for the noise to travel out. It's not immediately bouncing off much. That's probably one of the reasons why. And I know that a lot of people were saying that my K2s, certain EMF detectors too, because a lot of the wiring that is just nested through the ship makes it a little bit hard to use those as well. You get a lot of false positives from it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well,
and the engine room, you can hear.
Awesome. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Well, I was gonna say, which is awesome also to capture an EVPs because of there's no echoing. You can hear, you know, the disembodied voice.
Well, the density, the way the ship's laid out. I mean, you like take the engine room. I mean, that stuff is packed in there, and that's going to absorb echo sound. I mean, when you get up into the hallways where the rooms are, you've got room against room against room against room. So that echo factor, now if you took all of that out and just had the hollow base of the ship, you'd have echo like crazy. But that density over square inch is what keeps that echo down. But from an EVP perspective, you're absolutely right. They are crisp, they are clean, and they are extremely powerful EVPs. Even the ones we captured when it was loaded with people were still strong. Without people there, they'll be incredible. So.
And the audience also, who's ever going to watch the Queen Mary live event, you guys can hear also those, because with
mics with cameras with mics. Yes, they would be able to.
Another thing that contributes to keeping the Queen Mary from echoing too is, especially in the cabin areas. On a normal cruise ship today, you can look straight down the hallway and it's a level surface. You go into the Queen Mary, they didn't have the technology back then to build the ships the same way. So if you stand on one end, people that have never been there, if you stand on one end of a hallway where the cabin areas are, the ship literally, it dips down and comes back up, which keeps the sound from traveling, because sound doesn't travel up and come back down off a carpet and wood. So it literally, you can stand at one end of the hallway and all you can see is the bottom end. You can't see the other end of the hallway because the ship literally dips like this.
Yeah. You know, I wore heels to do like a little promo shoot on the ship, and it was the worst idea ever, because I felt like I was just like, I can't walk on this ship. It feels like a fun house to me. And I didn't realize until you said that, but it's like, you're absolutely right. Like the entire time, like, my eyes aren't really registering the dip, but my whole body feels it.
Right.
And the entire time I feel like I'm about to tilt forward on these heels. And I was like, this is the worst idea ever. Aiden was like, yeah, you know, the ship is, and depending on the tide could also kind of come up or down on each end by a couple inches. And he even showed me, like, when we exited the ship, that there's like a, you know, like, I guess like little slots that are measure in meters, like the tide levels. And you're just like, wow, I saw what the tide was when I walked in and what the tide was when I left. And it had risen. And you don't realize, because when you're in a ship, you're not really seeing the horizon. There's walls around you and you just feel like you're in a building. But yeah, like there is a bit of a funhouse effect in the ship, which kind of puts your sense, it's a sensitive thing, you know, physically, which kind of I'm wondering, I'm like, can I separate that from like my investigation a little bit? Because you know, you could go to a haunted location and it doesn't have to be on a ship and you feel like that, you know what I mean? Yeah, like just being, it just gets amplified, like whatever like sensations your body has just from being around so much energy, plus the funhouse effect of being on water with rising tides and sloped, you know, hallways. Like, gosh, it is kind of disorienting in there. If I didn't have Aiden to walk me around, I would have been hella lost. Like, I wouldn't know where to go.
Susan, how did you feel? This speaks to both parts of it. And this actually, if you're watching, this part of the ship is not actually on the ship. In the propeller area, they have it encased, so your tour or walkthrough of the ship has you go through a doorway in a little U-shaped room that you still feel like you're inside the vessel. But in fact, it's outside. It's just covered. But you go by where that propeller, which it used to have 4 of when it set maritime records for speed on the ocean, they're huge. The propeller is huge. It's in the water. It's really, how did you feel in that area? Because that is really, really, yeah.
That's the only room that has an echo, actually.
Yep.
That's the only one, because I remember going in there and the sound travel, and that makes sense because, like you said, you feel like you're still inside of the ship, but it does make sense because it is covered and you see this giant propeller and it's still under ocean water, but they do have it so that you walk through on the tour. I mean, I love that room. We were talking about having a camera in there, but it was impossible because it's kind of tight. There's only like 2 small doorways in and out. I heard that Josh Gates dived in there for an investigation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He actually did.
Yeah.
They captured the underwater sound of the engine running when he did that.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That's cool.
Because I don't know if it's a funhouse effect or not, but that room where that propeller is, you feel that.
Yeah.
I don't know. you know,
Are
that
we-
thing.
Yeah, like they're
Are we
sitting on
allowed-
a floaty in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
Are we allowed to disclose any of the history of it?
I mean, I think you can, absolutely.
The area we're sitting in front of, figuratively here, is called our deck forward. It's just above part of the ship, where it had two battleships that used to flank it. Hitler had a bounty on the ship for like 250,000, and their battleship to protect it. One of them, through different versions of the story, got too close, didn't get out of the way. The Queen Mary pretty much cut it in half.
Cut it in half. Yep.
Sailors go into the water. So this ties it back. Some of whom died by getting sucked into those propellers.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. That was a German U-boat, wasn't it? That got cut in half.
No, it was the RMS Curacao. It was one of the two ships meant to protect the Queen Mary because Hitler was sending U-boats after.
Oh,
He
that's
had a
right.
bounty on them.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct.
And then
Yeah.
they told them it's wartime. Keep going. They'll send
Yeah.
whoever survives. Will send people, a boat for them. And that was
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's the other interesting thing about the Queen Mary. I mean, it was used for so many things, from a luxury liner to then being used during war, transporting not only soldiers back and forth, but I believe at one time it had prisoners of war on it, and
Yep.
all sorts of other things. But there are so many instances and so many different histories of who was on it, why they were on it, and what was happening. That, of course, that's what brings the boat alive from another paranormal angle, let alone that it's sitting on the water, still in the water. Water has a huge effect on paranormal activity and all sorts of other reasons, but
Yeah.
should be definitely interesting stuff. But looking at the time and knowing that East Coast people are probably getting tired and you all work tomorrow,
Right.
Susan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, talking about
Yes, thank you
Thanks
so
so much
much.
for having me. I'm excited to work with you guys soon, and I'm excited that I got to meet the rest of your crew over here. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
It's such a
Hopefully,
pleasure.
we get to do an investigation all together one day.
Well, anytime you're in Arizona, Susan, let me know. We'll introduce you to the hospital. You got to check that out sometime.
I would love that. I've been thinking about going to Arizona for a little while now, so I might take you up on that.
Anytime.
Go
All right.
in the winter.
Yeah.
Go in the winter. I live in the desert too. I live in Joshua Tree, so I understand that hotness. Okay,
There
it's
you
like
go.
112.
June, July, and August is a no-go, but the other 9 months, 8.5 months are beautiful. So, but again, thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you.
I want to give our closing. Oh, and I want to say thank you to everyone in the audience for tuning in. And this was a wonderful show. Thank you again, Susan. And Chris, you want to give our closing line?
Guys, we investigate places of history, and the only way we keep history alive is if we keep investigating it. So stay haunted and have a good night.
Nice.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Night.